Before we kind of get to how does Brazil fit in with this movement? Now, I know when Lula was elected, that was so exciting.
Yes.
Because he was a blue-collar union man.
Well, Brazil, even though they mostly speak Portuguese, and not like the rest of Latin America, speak Spanish, is the most important power in the country, in the continent.
And that's
economically, population-wise, natural resource-wise. It's the biggest economy. It's the biggest potential power in South America. So it's strategically very, very important to control Brazil.
Yes.
Even though it has some differences with other parts of South America, it also has a ton of similarities. Above all, the fact that the vast majority of Brazil is a poor, working-class country.
Yes.
And so it's no accident, therefore, that on George Bush's last tour of Latin America, his first visit was to Brazil.
Right.
Because they really need to keep control over that, the natural resources, agriculturally, and now even oil resources that they've discovered.
Yep.
And this guy Lula, who was elected as a president, as a candidate of the Workers' Party, the PT.
Do you remember what year was that? 2000
when he was elected? He's in his second term now, so it's relatively
2002 maybe.
I think it might have been about right around then. And this party was formed only in the early 1980s. After the fall of the military dictatorship, that a lot of people forget that Brazil was under a brutal military dictatorship, like in Chile, like in Argentina.
Well, and it was the same story. They had a very socialistic, democratic kind of situation, and then the United States sent down a military coup in the early 60s, overthrew everything, and then brought in the corporate military and
put these people in power.
Yeah,
well, when that fell, there was, of course, a lot of ferment already building up, even during the dictatorship, in the trade unions. And for a political expression.
So that fell when?
I believe it was about 82.
Okay, in the 80s.
Very early 80s. And then the PT was formed, the CUT was formed.
What's the PT?
The Workers' Party, which is the political expression. And then the CUT, which is like a big trade union federation, was formed as well.
Oh, okay.
And so Lula came out.
And that's where Lula came.
He came out of that movement.
Okay.
So of course there was a lot of hopes in him, and he started implementing a lot of very positive reforms and so on. But at the same time, he's come under a lot of pressure. He's under the pressure of the masses who want to change their really miserable conditions for millions of people in Brazil.
Yes.
But he's also in the pressure of the corporate interests. Every time one of these people is elected, they're sort of taken into the back room and they're sat down.
Yes.
Here, have a cigar, and let's have some whiskey, and let's talk about how we actually do things in this country. You may have been elected.
Well, not necessarily this country, but how the CIA does things all over the globe.
Exactly.
Read Confessions of an Economic Hitman.
Yes, by
it gives you a good
Perkins,
picture.
I think it is. Yeah. Who? I mean, that's how they try and run these countries. And so you have some people like Hugo Chavez who said, "Well, wait a second, I was elected." I mean, he's made some mistakes. He might have his confusions, but I think that he's a pretty honest guy who really believes that he's there to represent the people, and he's trying to find a way to do that.
And he won't compromise. And
so far, he's been very resistant to that. We'll see what happens. The key is, of course, the role of the masses themselves and what action they take themselves. But in the case of Lula, in my opinion, I think he's come under some of that pressure.
And he's sold out somewhat.
In some ways, I think he definitely has sold out to those corporate interests and has really disappointed a lot of the rank and file that had a lot of hopes that the PT, that this Workers' Party, would actually implement pro-worker policies across the board. Not just a few crumbs here and there while still kind of keeping business as usual going on, but actually making some fundamental changes, ultimately bringing about the socialist transformation of society. And how can we bring about the socialist transformation of society? That's kind of an important thing to talk about. Not only in Brazil, but Venezuela, and ultimately here.
But things have improved somewhat under Lula.
Oh yeah, I mean, compared to the military dictatorship, I mean, people's economies have gone up.
There are many more people working.
Yes.
And getting salaries and employed to take care of the country and take care of the cities. And
sure, but the economic crisis is going to hit really bad there. The mortgage.
Do you think so?